Haruki Murakami once said, "Death is not the opposite of life, but a part of it." And while these words are wise, chances are they won't change the way that you feel when you lose someone you care about. The death of a loved one is often a difficult thing to deal with, but it's also pain we each understand, and it's something that connects us all. Writers like Murakami use that understanding to create impactful moments in storytelling that stick with us long after the story is over. This video is the first in a series that will explore some of the most impactful deaths in media. A series that will talk about what makes those moments powerful and what we can take away from them. There will of course be spoilers for any series that I'm covering, but I'm gonna do my best not to spoil anything unnecessary. And I promise that this is gonna be an ongoing series that I keep working on. Some of you who are familiar with the channel may notice that there's something different with this video, which is you can see my face. And the reason for that is simple. It is very difficult to continue making B-roll based footage while I work 40 hours a week and have an over 1 hour commute both ways. So this is my way of making more content. I do have so many ideas that I want to work on and want to make videos for that have just not been able to get done because I haven't had the time. And this is my way of addressing that and hopefully bringing you guys more videos. So without further ado, let me show you one of the saddest moments in Naruto, at least to me.
あの方向はここか。やっと当たったな。
It's no exaggeration to say that when I first saw this moment, it broke me. As many times as I've watched Naruto, I actually had not watched this scene until I started watching the show with my wife. Mostly because I always skipped the war arc. And yet in this moment, as Shikamaru emotes shock and pain and is stifling them back in order to fulfill his responsibilities, my heart sinks. As one comment pointed out, no flashback, no music, just silence. And yet this moment arrests the atmosphere of the episode and makes you feel the pain of Shikamaru's loss. And here's what makes the scene interesting. Shikaku is at best a side character. So how could the death of someone with no backstory and hardly any screen time have such a large impact on the audience? Or at least on me? Well, in order to answer that question, we have to look not at the character's death, but at their introduction and their interactions throughout the series. Shikaku Nara is introduced to us as the father of Shikamaru Nara. When first seeing him, we can understand exactly where Shikamaru gets his lax attitude from. Of course, he also comes across as somewhat irresponsible since he's keeping Shikamaru out late when he should be at home getting rest preparing for the Chunin exams. But if there was ever any doubt about his prowess as a ninja, Shikaku puts that to rest later when he pulls off a shadow possession of over 20 ninja during Orochimaru's attack on the Leaf Village. While Kishimoto uses this scene with Shikaku to display the vast difference in power between him and Shikamaru, it isn't until much later that we finally get a glimpse into his mindset as a shinobi and the way he goes about transferring that mindset to his son. You're either a leader or a coward. These are the first words of advice that we see from Shikaku to Shikamaru. A harsh reminder that in the world of the shinobi, there is no room for wallowing in self-pity, and no use for a leader who dwells on the mistakes and failures of his past. The world they live in isn't kind or caring. It requires thick skin to survive and move forward. Now, you and I don't live in the world of the shinobi, so you could be forgiven for reading this advice as insensitive and maybe even cruel. Shikamaru just led a mission that left two of his friends mortally wounded and with absolutely nothing to show for it. But his father effectively tells him to suck it up and get a grip. While the advice Shikaku gives to Shikamaru is helpful in the moment, it can also serve to taint his character in the eyes of viewers. Without much else to characterize Shikaku, this scene could create the view that he's an uncaring father, which is what makes this next moment of dialogue with Shikamaru so meaningful. After the death of his master Asuma, Shikamaru becomes withdrawn and retreats inward. He doesn't eat, he doesn't sleep, and he doesn't leave the house. And he even misses Asuma's funeral ceremony. And yet, when he's confronted about his emotions and asked how he's feeling, he asserts that there's nothing wrong, because a shinobi must never shed tears during a mission. A shinobi never shows weakness. These are the principles that guide Shikamaru as a shinobi and as a man, just as they guide the other shinobi of the Leaf. So when Shikaku begins to reprimand Shikamaru once again, it stands to reason that he would once again remind his son of these guiding principles. That he would advise him that there's no room for his emotions and that he had a responsibility to forsake his feelings for the good of the village. But instead, this happens.
I'm still nothing but a useless coward.
You're wrong.
What do you want from me? Let it out, boy.
And with this new context, it becomes clear that Shikaku has been providing his son with not heartless shinobi rhetoric, but instead with caring advice from a place of clarity about his son's personality and potential, as well as from a deep understanding of the pain caused by life as a shinobi. In this one scene, Kishimoto provides commentary on grieving, masculinity, emotional health, and more. To this day, this is the scene that I've watched more than any other in Shippuden. I could talk about it for at least another hour, but there's more to cover, so let's move on. After this scene, the majority of Shikaku's screen time is spent heading up the military efforts of the Shinobi Allied Forces. This section of the story doesn't provide much emotional context for Shikaku, but it does give us insight into his competence as a strategist and shows us where Shikamaru's intellectual prowess comes from. Throughout the war, Shikaku was able to use information relayed from the battlefield to devise creative strategies, giving the Shinobi Allied Forces a leg up even when the odds seemed insurmountable. For example, when the Ten Tails was first summoned, he uses knowledge about the various jutsu of the Shinobi forces to make a plan to eliminate the Ten Tails as a factor. And to his credit, things played out exactly how he expected. The Shinobi Allied Forces were able to nullify the Ten Tails' senses and immobilize him in order to eliminate Madara and Obito. His logic was simple: eliminate the brain and the beast can't function. It's an effective strategy, but in a turn of tragic irony, it's exactly the strategy that led to Shikaku's death. Shikaku and Inoichi are the brains of the Shinobi Allied Forces, and if Obito and Madara eliminate them, then the army can't function. So when Madara enacts this strategy, to the forces on the ground, it looks as though the Ten Tails' power is just too much to control, as if he's firing wildly into the world beyond the war. And then, the target is revealed. And in his last moments, Shikaku chooses not to bemoan his impending death, but to leave behind a strategy to finish the mission. Because you're either a leader or a coward. Shikaku dies upholding the very philosophy that he lived by. While everything I've said up until now could serve to make Shikaku's death impactful, the real reason this scene resonates so heavily with its audience, resonates so heavily with me, is its impact on the surviving shinobi, and specifically Shikamaru. Through characters like Jiraiya and Kakashi, we are told about the pain the shinobi reality can cause, and at some points we do see how they develop their resolve via flashbacks. But with Shikamaru, we see his pain and development in real time. We're with him on the mission where his decisions as a leader fail to protect Sasuke. We're with him when he has to watch Asuma breathe his last breath. And we're watching with him from afar as his father is taken from him. There one moment and gone in the next. We watch him experience this pain as it's happening. This could have been another moment for Shikamaru to cry out and mourn a loss, but what makes this moment powerful is not the things that we see, it's the things that we don't see. We understand the pain that Shikamaru feels in this instance because we've watched Shikamaru go through pain before. But after his father dies, he still has responsibilities. He still has an army to lead, and in that moment, we see him swallow his pain and gather his resolve. This is a feeling I think most people can relate to, and the emotions are captured beautifully in just a handful of frames with no words at all. Shikaku's death becomes the jumping off point for Shikamaru's final step into adulthood. He's no longer a ninja looking for others to give orders, he's a leader who the entire ninja world is relying on for guidance in a time of conflict. I believe that this is the moment that prepared Shikamaru to stand in the room of Kage. The loss of his father, much like the other pain Shikamaru has experienced, leads to his growth. While many of us may see death as the end for the person who has passed, that death still holds meaning in what it inspires the living to do with their memory. In Naruto, this is called the Will of Fire, the force that binds the leaf shinobi in a cause to protect the future of their village. With the loss of Shikaku, Shikamaru resolves to take on a similar role, guiding the world to the brighter future he believes Naruto can usher in as Hokage, so the pain that he's endured can end with his generation. Shikaku Nara may have been a minor character, and his death may have happened in a flash, but the moment of his death was truly impactful, both for the characters and for the story of the world of Naruto. But Shikaku isn't the only one, and that's the reason why I wanted to put together this series, because there are so many characters, not just within Naruto, but within anime in general, who die in their stories, but as a result of their death leave an impact both on the world that they come from and on us as viewers. I believe that moments like the death of Shikaku can provide all of us with some sort of insight that we can use to live out our lives. In the case of Shikaku, that comes from the selflessness that is taking care of those who will come after you. But again, there are so many more characters to talk about. Some of these are obvious characters that you probably expect. For example, Jiraiya, I think most of us have certain feelings about that character. And if you've made it this far in the video, I assume that you've watched enough of Naruto that that's not a spoiler. But there are other characters. Eren in season 1 of Attack on Titan, I think is something interesting to talk about. But with that said, I am very open to hearing you guys' suggestions of what characters you would like to hear me talk about. So if you have any characters that you specifically want me to cover, leave it down in the comments section below and I will get to them. I appreciate you guys for sticking around and I hope to do more videos now that we have this new format. But with that, we've reached the end of this one. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you in the next one.